Maseches Bava Kama Daf Lamed Beis Amud Beis. And we have to review a little bit of Papa Mishmei Over. The line starts with the word Havi. If you go from the bottom of the page, it's about, 8, 9, 10 lines from bottom. Line starts with the word Havi, and then Da'ika de Mikri, V'Yosef, then Rav Papa. We are in the words Rav Papa Mishmei Over. Basically, what I did not explain yesterday, but is becoming clear as we go along, and by the way, this year is L'Nishmas of Imar Menachem Ben Akiva, Rus Bas Shalom, Tor Bas Moshe, Och Bas Metzir Lefos, Yudis Bas Rivka, Golden Gila Bas Shifra, Besoch Shachol Yisrael. We are playing pin the tail on the donkey. It's not a nice example because there are no donkeys here in the sugya, but basically there's one statement by Rabbi Yossi Bar Chanina, and that statement we, so to speak, we pinned it to one statement. We are going to pin it to another statement and yet another statement. What's the statement of Rabbi Yossi Bar Chanina? He said the follows. He said, there's a certain situation, either in the carpenter's workshop or in other places, where there's some kind of said mistake. Had it been just injury, you would be chayiv in all four things, meaning everything except for boishes, because this is not complete oines. Yeah, it's not oines, right? In other words, if it's oines, he's not chayiv on all three things. It's pshia. And yet, when it comes to rotzech b'shoigeg, he's potu. The question is why? Why this, conundrum? Why this situation that he's chayiv to pay the four things, which means he's a posheh? Right? Because the other four things that you have to pay, like the medical expenses of chule, you don't pay them be'oines. You only pay them if you are some level of pshia, if you're real negligent. Yeah, you should have known better. And on the other hand, we say that he's potur from golus, right? So now we had three statements. That's a statement. That's what we have to pin. That's like the mobile thing that you have to pin from one thing, from one statement to the other. What is the story? In which cases Rabbi Yossi Bar Chanina say that you're chayiv on the four things in nezek, but in case of death, you're potur from golus. You don't go to the miklat. When is that? Yesterday, what did we say? We said there was one case yesterday, the seifa, the second case. The guy came to the carpenter's shop, and he came there with permission. He came with permission and a chinami. Because he came with permission, pshia, of course it's pshia. You expected the guy to come there Wednesday afternoon, and you kept banging and cutting as if, as if there's no tomorrow. You just did a very pshia thing. So why don't you go to your miklat? On the contrary, because it's too bad for your miklat. Because it's close to mezid, right? It's that level between mezid and shoigeg. Your miklat is too good for you, honey. You cannot go to your miklat because you are above shoigeg and below mezid. It's oines akoroiv le mezid. Shoigeg akoroiv le mezid. That was yesterday. Now we're going to pin the same statement of Rabbi Yossi Bar Chanina to another case, to the first case. Remember what was the first case? He came without permission. Let's read it inside. Rav Papa Mishmei Rova Matni Lo Reisha. Rav Papa, on behalf of Rava, he learned it, he connected it, he pinned that statement of yes, paying for the four things nezek and not going to golus in case of death. He connected it to the Reisha. What did it say, the Reisha? A person entered the carpenter's shop or workshop with no permission. You are not welcome here. This is not today we're going to receive people. And that's because that piece of wood actually flew over the tofchalal part of, hit him on the face, the mace, in case he died, so said, Patu, the carpenter is Patu from going to your miklat. Why? We'll see why later. We're not repeating yesterday. This is a new pshat now. Now we're pinning the statement to this one. As Ellen very nicely asked yesterday, why is he chai b'arba dvarim? And Rashi said that in this case we're saying that he saw him, or at least he should be margish. He saw him coming, or felt him coming. These shops that you come in, so automatically there's this ding dong of the bells, right? that kind of thing. He felt or he knew that there's somebody there, and he like ignored him, and he kept working. Well, maybe he's upset because he came without permission. But Lamaisa, if you injured him, Mr. Carpenter, you got to pay. Why? Because of course you're Poshea. Yeah, says Rashi, you should have looked better. You see somebody, you feel somebody, you're not deaf and dumb and blind. You see what's going on and shoot, and you kept working, ignoring him. You're chai barbot voim upatur migolus. Oh, but he's potter from golus. Why is he potter from golus? Oh, now says Tosfos, and Rashi hints to that too. You know why he's exempt from golus? Because in the case of no permission, yeah, well, there's no permission for the other person to be there, is potter megolus, because this is like below the case of the Torah. The Torah talks about a case where everybody is allowed to be in the Yar. The Torah has some kind of paradigm case, classical case of both people entering the Yar. Everyone's welcome into the Yar. Everyone can come to the forest. There's no limitation, regardless of your, age, gender, religion, color, race. It's free for all the Yar. Yeah, and there the accident happened. Then you're chayiv. But in the case where there's no permission to come, yeah, that's not like the Yar, because there's no permission to come. That's not like the case of the Yar. Okay, so you chai barba dvorim because they're posher. Lamaisa, you should have been careful. And logically speaking, you can claim it's illogical, maybe, because he should have known better. But Lamaisa, he should have known because he did see or feel or hear the guy coming. I'm not saying the guy's a tzaddik. Please don't offer him as a shidduch to my very nice daughter. Again, for dvorim is chayiv, because when it comes to nezek, we say, hey, you should have known better. So you should be chayiv on murder even more so. No, by murder, the Torah has its own standards, and the standard is murder b'shogeg. You only chayiv golus if it's a free-for-all area, free zone, everybody can come. In a place where people cannot come, and he's even not allowed to come. He's even not even allowed to come. He was warned, don't come, no entry for anybody today. Then Potter Megolus, I see people picking, no, it's not the time for asking questions right now. You're in queue. Nice English gentleman can wait nicely in the queue. Please let me get the momentum, and then I'll hear your questions. Man de matnila aseifa. Yeah, the one who learned the statement on the seifa, that was the previous case. The one who said, remember yesterday, which I reminded you today too, the one who pins the case to the seifa, to the case of what? Of yes permission. When there is permission, you're a potur, kol sheken reisha, or the more so on the reisha. If in the seifa, when he has permission, and it's more similar to the case of the yar, we said he's potur because it's similar to mezid, kol sheken reisha, or the more so in the reisha, we say what? That of course you are Potter migolus, because the Reisha is less similar to the Torah's case as Tosfos. Yeah, the Seifa is permission. To be with permission in someone else's house is a bit more similar to being in the Yar. Everyone's allowed. And yet you say he's Potter from going to the Ir Miklat. So, Kol Sheken Reisha, the Reisha, when it's a very private zone, my home is my castle, my workshop is private, or the more so, it's more different and not the same. Yeah, distinguished from the case of the Torah, and of course you're not chayav golus. However, uman dematni la reisha, but the one who says that in the case of the reisha you're potur, why are you potur? Because no permission, that's not like they are. It's a no entry zone. No, I do not accept people today, not of your religion and not of anybody. Yeah. Aval seifa, wait, the seifa, Kevin the Bilshus chayav golus. Oh, that we have arrived at to stop here. In the seifa, according to this opinion, and that seems like what the Rambam paskins la'alocha, according to this opinion that pinned the ptur golus to the ratio when he's not allowed to be there, to be in my house without my permission, that's not the case of the Torah of a golus. No. You're not allowed to be here. Who was expecting you, mister? Even though I saw you and I should have been more careful, that's not by the standards of the Torah when it comes to chiyuv golus. Why? Because, however, in the case of the Seifa, when we say, hello, welcome, big sign, everyone welcome, we accept everybody. I saw once in the trains, in the tube, not a very nice sign in England about this establishment, accept everybody, white, black, and all kinds of terrible things. Also, we accept everybody. So he has such a sign on his door. We accept everybody, accepts everybody. That's more similar to who? To the forest. Yeah, it's not exactly like the forest. The forest really belongs to everybody. The carpenter's workshop belongs to him only. It's only written in his name in the tabu, but he's inviting guests today. So that yes is similar to the yar, and he is chayv golus. Unlike what we said yesterday, that it's shogeg karv lemezid. Here we say no. Once you allow everybody to come, and you know people are coming, or even you allow just that one person to come, that is similar enough to the forest case of the Torah. And in case you boom, boom, fell in his face, is chayev golus, according to this opinion, and that's what we're staying with. Ellen was 2 seconds before Mr. Weiter. Okay, frag the Gemara, 4 lines from the bottom of the page. Welcome. Umi chayev golus, frag the Gemara, is that so? Is it true that a person who entered his other friend's domain with permission and the person by mistake killed him by shogeg is chayav golus? Is that so? Are you sure? Tanya, it says in the Brisa, this is a very, very cool question and answer. A person entered the blacksmith workshop, and then there were sparks. Yes, sparks, you know, because the blacksmith, sparks were flying, and it hit him on the face, the mace, and he died, you know, from the burn in his face. Potu, then this person, the Napach, the blacksmith guy, is exempt for going to the Ir Miklat, the city of refuge. Wow, even though he entered with permission. So you see, not like that. You see that in case it is just permission, you, the second Bryce, the second Lishna, you said, yeah, that's like the forest. He's allowed to be here. So he should go to Ir Miklat. You see, no, he's not going to Ir Miklat. I assume why not? Maybe it's closer to Mezid. Right? Like the first Lishna, that's too bad, and Mir and Miklat is too good of a punishment for him, I assume. Maybe. You see Lamaisa, the Brisa says, not like you, Rav Popo. Yeah? Answers the Gemara, here the victim was the apprentice, the Talmud, the apprentice of the blacksmith. That's the answer. Frank the Gemara, duh. Just because he's the apprentice and you imagine him as some kind of miskin, so is he meant to die? Is his dam hefker? So he's there in order to die just because he's apprentice? What kind of answer is that? Yeah, what's going on here? Yeah, answers the Gemara. This is one of those answers that develop slowly. You know, these Gemaras with like a small question, small answer until you get it just right. You know, like focusing your camera, you know, kind of thing. Like, you know, baking a cake just the right amount. His Rav, the Rav means here, not a rabbi, his master, the master of the apprentice, the big blacksmith, he mesarev, he begs him, he tells him to go out. Get out now. You know, your time's over. That's it. Your shiur is till 4 o'clock. Get out of my sight. I have to have my coffee now. And he doesn't go out. And then the Napach, the blacksmith, kept working because he told his Talmud already to get out. Frag the Gemara, still, I'm sorry, says the Gemara. What kind of answer is that? So because the Talmud didn't go out, he deserves to die. He's ignored to the level of such Shia or whatever that is, and he can die because I told him to go out to the sit-in court case, the stand-in court case in court, and he said, oh, I'm so sorry, I don't really have to get Golus. I killed him because I was uncareful because I told him to leave. You told him to leave, so what? But didn't you see already that he left? Answers the Gemara, Kasover Yotza. Yes, he thought he left. He said, I told him to leave. I kept working. I said, bye, see you tomorrow. Leave, please leave now. The shiur is over. Back then, people were more authoritative, as we know. And I was sure, I'm the lawyer of the Napach, I was sure that he really left and he didn't leave. He was still, you know, huddling there in the corner, overstaying his welcome, and I had no idea. And that's why I'm considered to be a shoygeg. Frag the Gemara, wait a second, that's a nice answer. You had no idea that the person is there. It's ki'ilu loy bilshus. Because he overstayed his welcome. He's supposed to be in my workshop. I give him a shiur from 1 till 4. He follows my motions and everything. 400, I'm a Yekish guy. I told him, go. And he didn't go. I was sure that he went. That's shaygeg. That's why we say what? Then chayev, sorry, potu, excuse me. It's not shaygeg. It's potu because it's shaygeg korev leoines. I was sure that he left. Yeah, it's ki'ilu loy bilshus. It's as if he's there without permission, and that's why I'm potu, because I'm more like onus. I had no idea he was there. Frag the Gemara, if so, if you were sure that he left because you told him to go, you imagine in your mind this scenario. There's a movie playing. The guy, no, okay, goodbye, go. keeps working. He was sure that the guy left. He's still standing there in the corner watching the great blacksmith working. He can't take his eye off his work. And Lamaise, he didn't leave, but that's an oinus on the side of the napach. If so, anybody, why did you make such a very specific, very particular ukimta of the apprentice that could be by anybody? Maybe it was a customer who came to the shop and he told the customer, okay, goodbye, finish, go out. And the customer overstayed. Why did you dafka make the ukimta about the apprentice, the shulia? Answers the Gemara, a brilliant answer, which doesn't apply in 2021. Acher, the other person, a stranger, stomach guy from the street, he has no fear of the Rav. He has no fear of the Napach, the master, the Napach, the blacksmith. In other words, just because the Napach told me to go, who said I have to go? I'm still taking my time. I'm putting my coat slowly and my head slowly. I still want to watch him. I still want to look around. Yeah, he told me to go. I'll choose exactly when to go. And the Napach should have known it. Had the Napach really, says Rashi, he should have said, just because you commanded someone to leave your shop, doesn't mean he left right away. So you have to make sure he really, really left before you continue with your very dangerous fire-sparking thing. But, the Napach, the Shulia, the apprentice, Islam Saderabe, the Shulia Sanapach, the apprentice of the blacksmith, he's scared of his Rav. He has Amos Hadin, Rosh Hashanah. He has Ema, and therefore we assume, everyone assumes, and the Napach was also allowed to assume, once he told his apprentice, go, the assumption is that the Talmud right away goes. Back then, people were obedient to their Rebbeim, whether it's Rav or a blacksmith or a silversmith. And therefore, because I was sure that he left, because minhag, the apprentices, to always follow what the master says, I was really, really honestly sure that he left. He's there without permission, and also really was assumed to have left. Mimela, I am the Napach and Potur, because it's kilu complete, out of sight, out of mind. Masha'enken, if it was a different person, or if the Napach was there with permission, of course he's chayav begolus. One person in another person's house with permission, we come to the conclusion here, we pin the case to we pin the case to the first one. The second one, the second case of with permission, there is golus. Yeah, when the other person is with permission in the other friend's house, that is like the forest, it's free for all. That's what we're saying, and we stay with that. Okay? Third one.
So the blacksmith with without permission, or the defense.
Okay. Every wife here has to get 20 notes, maybe for a report card already, a book. Weiter. Okay. A third one. Now we're going to pin Rav Yossi Bar Chanina's case to a third case. Rav Zvid Mishmei de Rava. Before it was Rava, then we had Rav Papa on behalf of Rava. The third and last one is Rav Zvid on behalf of Rava. Matni lo aho. He learns the statement of Rav Yossi Bar Chanina on aho, on the following brisa. Umotzo. It says in the Torah, when the Torah talks about the shoigeg, the one who killed b'shoigeg, rotzech b'shoigeg, it says umotzo esrei uvemes. It says that when the splinter, the wood fell off the axe, or as Jeff correctly said, or the axe itself, there's a question. When the damaging piece fell off the hands of the cutter, the wood cutter, umatzo esreu, it found its friend. Yeah, kilu, the object found its way to the friend's head, body, and killed him. Says the Gemara at Rosha, an exclusion here, prat, to exclude lemamtzi es atzmoi, excluding somebody who the object did not find him, but he found the object. What does that mean? Mikan Omar Blezer ben Yaakov, mish yotzto even mitachas yodoi. Let's say somebody threw a rock. I don't know with what level of intention, but the rock was thrown out of his hand. Let's say he was throwing it towards a building, yeah, and all of a sudden, another person, the building seemed to have a regular facade of a building. All of a sudden, somebody cocks out his head. Somebody poked out his head, the kibla, and welcomed, accepted the stone. Yeah, it was the other way. Yeah, I mean, in other words, the stone was coming, and as the stone was coming, the other person, by mistake, he's the one who made the motion to get the stone, and he got the stone on his head, and he died. Batu, is Batu. Who's potul? The one who threw the stone. Why? Because it's not like the Torah's case. The Torah's case is when the person is already there, visible there. Yeah, he was 1 tree below you. You should have jolly well noticed him. Mashenkin here, the guy wasn't there b'chlal. Now, it's not complete oinus, because still to throw a rock in the building, you can still figure out maybe somebody will poke his head out of the building. You know, some people are yachne enough to poke their heads out of the building. So it's not exactly oinus, but it's not what? It's not considered the shoygig of the Torah of going to your miklat. And now says Rabbi Yosef B'Chanina, potur migolus. He's potur migolus because he doesn't follow the script of the Torah of the object finding the person. The person is mamtzias atzmo. He made himself available. V'chayv abod dvarim. Wow, he's chayv on all 4 things because it's pshia. Yes, Alan. Chai barbad var pshia is chai nezek tsar ripui boy sheves, not boishes. Yeah, the only one is not his shame because embarrassment is only b'mezid. He chai on 4 out of 5 nezikim. Why? Because this is pshia, not oines. If it's pshia, why isn't he chai also on what? On the case of on death on your miklat? Because that's not what the Torah says. Or I would say maybe it's pshia shogi korv lemezid. Could also be. You throw a rock at a building, I didn't know anybody's going to poke out his head. So, you know, it's not a good taina. But regarding golus, yes, we see from the pasuk that this case is excluded from the script of the pasuk. We see Rotzech B'Shogeg gets to be a very, very specific case. Now, man de matni lo aho, the one who's pinned the case of Yosef B'Chanina on this case of the guy poking his head and said that you're chayv to pay 4 things, all the more so the guy who entered the workshop of the woodcut of the carpenter of those people, of course they're chayv on 4 things. Avada, because he saw them coming, or he should have known they're supposed to come any minute. So of course you chayv on a broad dvarm. You're worse pashea. Wow, here comes chidush. However, the one who learned them on the first, the one who pinned Rabbi Yosef B'Chanina on the first cases and said that in the case of the person working in his shop was expecting a person to come, or even saw him coming or heard him coming, and he ignores him, he wants to work quietly on his own and ignores the guy, he's chayv what? He's chayv on 4 things. That's real pshia. A case of a guy who throws a rock at a building and nobody was there, nobody seems to have been there, is potter from 4 things, his own chayv nezek, because he does not view that as pshia, because he had no idea anybody is there in the building. He should have thought maybe there's somebody who will poke out his head, but visibly right now there's nobody there. Mashenkin, in the case of the shop, you know the guy is either right here or supposed to come any second. That's worse. There you have about dvarim. Here maybe potter and about dvarim, you're not considered to be a real poshea. And by the way, again, I want to stress, it's not so clear that he threw the rock b'mezid on the building. It says, yotzto even mitachas yodo. I don't know how that exactly happened. That could happen in, of course, I'm so Tel Avivian, me, even though I lived out of Tel Aviv in the past, I don't know, 30 or 4 years. I'm used to buildings, being on the ground, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 floors. As we see in Ramat Beit Shemesh in Yerushalayim, we can have one building, the bottom of one building is higher than the bottom, and is higher than the top of the other building, right? When you have a hillside. So maybe that's what happened. Somebody had a stone in his hand and he was a bit lackadaisical, threw the stone at the face of a building, the facade of a building, and then it happened. I'm not sure it's a complete mazid over here. It says yotzto mitachas yodo, so it's mashma. From the top of his building, even from the same building. Right. Yoda, I hear. He's one building, he's the top floor. He's an Empire State Building. Okay, I hear. Yes. Oh, the return of Raboroch. Money. 2 dots. Tono bonon lamed gimel amud aleph LGA. Tono bonon. Poalim shabolit bos chon mebal abais. Poalim workers came to demand and ask for their salary from Baal Abais. They painted his house, they painted his office, they painted his swimming pool. Now they want their money. And where do they go? They go to his house. They entered the house, and the bull of Baal Abais gored them. The Baal Abais's dog bit them, either or the dog. He is a mafioso, he has a lot of animals around him. the mace. And then the poil died, or they died, the poilim died, because the vicious animals, the ferocious animals of a Baal Bais killed them. So he got it cheap. He doesn't have to pay them because they're dead. Yeah, no, he didn't do it on purpose. He didn't actually entice the dog against them. That's what happened. Potu. So now we say potu, why potu? We said that if a person enters another person's house with no permission, and the Balabai says a vicious dog or a crazy bull, then it's potu, because you say, what are you doing in my domain? Nobody invited you here. Yes, I know I have a vicious dog, which is not allowed in halacha, that's besides the point. But whenever I have guests, I lock him up in a room. I did not expect you as a guest. You're not expected here. I'm so sorry. Well, he's not talking to him because he's dead already. He's talking to his lawyer, yeah? And now we say, what? Potter. That's why it's potter. Potter on what? So we said it's potter on the, you kill the show you kill. Because the show who killed the person has to die. But it's potter from paying koifer. It's potter from paying the money. Usually when a shor muad kill someone, you have to pay. After 3 times, you have to pay for killing a person. This time, he's potter. You're not invited here. Other people argue. Other Tanoim in the Seifa, they argue on the first opinion. And they say, excuse me, even if you did not invite them, the poyalim, by default, so to speak, automatically are expected to come at the end of the day. They worked hard for 10 hours. What do you think is going to happen at the end of the day? They're going to dance hula hoop with him? Of course, what are they going to do? Ask for money. Because they're allowed to ask money from Balabais, Mimela, it's kilu, they're invited. They're supposed to be there anyways. Imagine yourself, you have the milkman coming to your house every day, doesn't leave the milk outside the door, leaves it inside. It's automatic that he comes in. It's an automatic thing. In other words, he doesn't have to invite them. They're allowed to be there. You can't say, what would the Polim doing in my house? They're not supposed to be in my house. Yes, they are supposed to be in your house because you should pay them. So now the question is, the first opinion said what? That they're not expected there. What's the machloikis? Frag the Gemara, what's the machloikis with the first opinion who says that the workers are uninvited guests, and the second opinion who said that they're like, by default, they are invited? What is the difference? What's the chiluk? HD, what's HD? Echidami, what's the story? If the person is usually found in city, in town, in modern day terms, in the office. If you usually find him in the office, as a seasoned fundraiser, I can tell you a lot about people who are in the office, at home, wherever the fundraiser is, they're not there. They're in the office when he's old. It's very interesting. They're like, they're above nature. So if the person is usually in town and not in his house, or in his office, what are you looking for in his house? He doesn't do business at home. He gives all these checks and salary and credit cards in his office, in 100th floor in a skyscraper. What are you doing in his small little house over there? Then, my time of the acherim. How come acherim, the second opinion, justifies the workers? They're not supposed to be there. They're supposed to go to the office to be paid. And if he's the kind of person who does business from home, as many people do, all his business and his doings and his dealings are at home, then my time at the Tanakama. How come Tanakama says the Polim are not supposed to be there? They're not supposed to be there. That's who pays everybody their salaries. A regular Kailal guy, Benas Dorim, he's home, and at nighttime he's home, and he pays the worker at night at home. So, of course, why does Tanakama say the Polim are not expected guests? Answers the Gemara, again, as the Gemara tends to do many times, middle of the road kind of case. There is a case which we have to mention. This guy sometimes here, sometimes there. This guy's a 50% guy. 50 times, 50% of dealings he does in the office, sometimes at home, and they don't know where to look for him. So they said, okay, he's not in the office. We'll try luck at home. It's absolutely normal to have him sometimes at home. Not always, but we are half expected. So that doesn't yet solve the problem. Are they expected there or not? It's half-half. So you know what happened? The whole story. The Kari Abovo, they called him by the gate. In today's language, they would knock on the door or they would ring the bell. The Amar Lahu, and he told them, he told them, yeah. In Yiddish, they don't say hello, they say, yeah. Yeah, in other words, yes. He told them yes. That was a response when they knocked on the door. Yeah, they didn't say back then, come in. They said yes. So now, Masova, one opinion holds in ul to mashma. When he said yes, he meant come in, ul, come in, enter, and come in. That's how that's how they're supposed to interpret the words. When they're like half expected guestos, Pauline, and he said, yes, we assume he means, yes, come in, we're open, we welcome everybody. And therefore, if they came in, they are expected, and if the shore gored them, they should be, it killed them, the family should be paid. Umar Sovain, the other opinion who said that they are not expected, says kum aduchtech mashma. Yes means yes, you stay where you are and I'll go out to you. Yes, I'm aware you're there, like okay. Yeah, he's okay, says the secretary of the Gvir, whatever that means, you have to wait there for another half an hour. Yes, okay, what? So, okay, according to this opinion means you have to actually stay where you are and I'll come out to you, or my secretary will come out to you with a check of the polim. And therefore, if they came in, they're wrong. They misunderstood his message and they were not supposed to come in. He told them, yes, stay over there. And therefore, we say, oh, we don't know what the halacha is, how to interpret the word. And on one word, yes, it's a life and death question. I'll be with you soon. Yeah, in other words, what's expected? Of course, don't ask me about today. Of course, these things change from city to city, slang to another dialect, and from one generation to the other. But let's say you have a country, a place where the word yes to the person coming in may either mean one or the other, then we have a machlokes where they're supposed to come in or supposed to stay out. Nafkamina, are they welcome guests? And therefore, if they were gored, they have to pay? Or are they not unwelcome guests and they should stay outside? And if they came in, it's, on their head. Tanya Keman Domer in Kum Aduchtech Mashma. Yeah, it says a brisa that supports the opinion that says stay there, stay out, stay aduchtach, stay in your place. And if you came in, it's at your own risk. The Tanya, it says in the brisa, Paul came in to ask to demand his salary from the Alabais. But no the show gored him. The dog bit him, the boxer, the Doberman bit him. Potu, he's potu. Am I potu? Why is he potu? He's allowed to come in. El alav the kari abava. He was semi pseudo reshus. He called at the door. He knocked at the door. And he told him yes. Must be this Bryce is telling me there's a way of you coming with permission, and yet the Balbas is exempt. How could that be? Because it was permission without permission. The permission was misinterpreted. He said yes. Okay, I'm your friend, I'll go out and give you the money. He did not mean you come in to take the money. And because of the misunderstanding, that's a problem of the poil, and therefore if the poil died, the balbais is potu, and it's now time for questions before we start the next. Good. Next, going forwards to the next Mishnah. The next Mishnah is not talking, that's it. We're not talking about bow and the traffic rules anymore, the traffic laws. We're talking here again about Shou Tam and Shou Muad. Please tell me what are the two differences between Shou Tam and Shou Muad. I know you know, but I also want to remember. Okay. Shnei Shvorin Tamin. There are two Shou Tams. Yeah, there are two, they gored once, twice, they're still tam. Shechovlu zeh et zeh. They injured each other. They had a fight between them in the bar. They had a fist fight, yeah? And they fought with each other, and they both came out with a blue eye and the black eye, and one broken toe, whatever, yeah. Mishalmin b'moisa chatzi nezek. What do? They both owe each other half a nezek. Spare me the problems of numbers here. Let's say one of them owes his friend 400. Out of 800, he owes him 400. The other one caused an injury. They're both alive, but injured. One of them injured, Reuven injured Shimon 500, and Shimon injured Reuven 400. Yeah, he has to pay 400 after the deduction. Yeah, one owes 500 and one 400. Says the Mishnah something very simple. The moisar, you only have to pay half an ezek of the moisar of what stays after the balance. In Hebrew, there's a word called lekazez. Maybe you know the word, to balance out. Yeah, like this. If I owe you 500, you owe me 400. Let's make it very simple. And 100 is remainder. You only pay me the 100 remainder. other, and the other 400 are kilu now, they're evened out with each other. That's what we call it in English. Canceled out, evened out, canceled out. So that's what the Mishnah says. The Mishnah seems to be so simple, and this Mishnah is basically the same concept all the way down. Tosis asks at the end of the Mishnah, I'm still in the question for you, what's the chidush? The Mishnah says things that are very, very straight and simple logic. Lahavdil, even a 10 years old would understand. Let's continue to read the entire Mishnah, and then we'll see what's the chidush in Tosfos. Next case, Shne Mu'odim. Let's say both Reuven and Shimon are Mu'ad, and they have to pay full nezek. Mishalmin b'maisa nezek shalem. So after they even out whatever each one owes the other, and one of them injured the other more, he has to pay him according to nezek shalem. Okay, of course, because the muad is nezek shalem. Echad tam ve'echad muad. Let's say it was a fight between a tam and a muad. Muad betam mishalim b'moisa nezek shalem. The muad has to pay the tam if there is left over after he was already paid, and the muad was more mazik more. The whatever's left over, he has to pay by the cheshbon of nezek shalem because he's a muad. Tam b'muad. But if the tam was the one who did worse injury, he's beginning to go off the derech, but he's already better than his friend. He injured him even more, or maybe the muad is worth more. Then mishalim b'moisa chatzi nezek. Then the tam that has to pay more. After evening out, after the kizuz, they got to zero, he has to pay the extra by the cheshbon of half an ezek. V'chen, so too, Shnei anoshim shechovlu zeh bazeh. Two people, that's a real fist fight in the bar. Two people, Reuven and Shimon themselves, they hit each other. They're in a fight. Mishalmin b'moisa nezek shalim. Does the person ever pay chatzi nezek? Waste of time to even ask the question. Of course not. Yeah, or the modloilam, everything. So one injured his friend $1,000 worth, the other one 800. How much does he have to pay him? Only 200. 800 are evened out. I owe you more. I owe you 200. Nezek shalom, not 100. I owe you 200. Yeah, nezek shalom minus what we already evened out mikazez with each other. Odom b'muad, a person had a fight with a bull. Spain. Ole ole. The person in the shore muad had a fight, yeah, nobody died, not a good bullfight case, yeah, they both stayed alive. Muad be'odom, same thing, it was a mutual fight, and they both harmed each other, they both injured each other. Mishalim b'moisa nezek shalem, a person is like a shore muad loilom. So at the end of the day, he pays nezek shalem, mishalim b'moisa nezek shalem. Also, he has to pay full damage. If the full damage was 1,000, the other one was 1,500. There's no reductions. Why only 500? Because 1,000 and 1,000 are evened out. Odom betam, another case, a person, man versus beast, man against the animal, man against tam, that's not fair. A man against the short tam, betam beodom, they had a fight with each other. Odom betam, mishal moisan nezek sholim. A person has to pay the full nezek of the tam. Let's say he killed the tam. Wait. The tam is dead. And now what? The tam was worth 2,000 shekels. You have to pay 2,000 shekels. The tam also gored me, and I'm owed 1,000. So you only pay him 1,000, but not 500, right? The shore gored me 1,000. I hit him 2,000 worth. I have to pay him only 1,000. Yeah, after evened out, but I have to pay him full, meaning not half nezek because I'm an odom. Odom pays full price. Tam beodom mishal b'moisa chatzi nezek. Vice versa, if the tam is the one who harmed more, who injured more, so he has to pay the extra after evening out, but only by half. If the total of what he harmed the person was $1,000 worth, he only has to pay 500. So after the person pays him the, let's say, 200 or 300, he's still owed only 200 out of the 1,000 because Tam only pays half. Let us finish the Mishnah. Rabbi Akiva Omer, what's the chiddush about the last case? Rabbi Akiva comes and argues, and we saw it a long time ago. Rabbi Akiva Omer, Af tam shechovel be'odom, v'shalem b'moisa nezek sholem. Rabbi Akiva in the Gemara will learn how and why, and we're going to see that, I think, tomorrow. Rabbi Akiva says, if a tam, short tam, we always learn from Kita Daled, we always knew short tam pays half. Comes Rabbi Akiva with a novel idea, which is how he reads the Torah. If a tam gored a person, yes, rule. If the tam has an issue with his friend, he has to pay how much? He has to pay half. Or if he gored my kli, maybe half. But if he gored a person, he has to pay nezek sholem. If he gored a person, then he has to pay full nezek, not half nezek. Why? Because the Torah says that according to Rabbi Akiva. Before your questions, you're being very patient, both of you, but we do have to, at least Baal Peh, I have to tell you, because we only have 2 minutes, with all the respect, Tosfos comes first and then you guys come. The question of Tosfos is, what's the chidush in this Mishnah? It's very nice normal logic, but why do the Heilige Tanoim have to tell me something which, lehavdil, Mackenzie also knows? Answers Tosfos, what did I tell you about the way you pay from the show tam? How do you pay from a show tam? From the body of the show, right? Says Rabbi Akiva, says Tosfos like this. Let's say that there is a difference between I owe you 400, you owe me 500, and we even it out, you only owe me 100, rather than saying I have to give you 4 and you have to give me 5. What's the difference? When it comes to cash, there's no difference. When it comes to me giving you cash and you giving me cash, it's ridiculous. It's a waste of time. I have to give you 5, then you give me 4. Stupid, just give me 100 and finished. In the case of show, it's not the case. Why? If we say that we don't balance it out, I have to scream louder. If we say that we don't balance out, you owe me from the body of your shore 400, yeah? And I owe you from the body of my shore 500, then we say, once Beis Din Paskin, they put the gavel and they said, Reuven owes Shimon 400 in the body of the shore. And the other one owns 500 in the body of the other shore, maybe it can be makdish. Maybe it can be makdish it. In other words, if you don't do balancing out, your shore belongs to me. Yeah, let's say I am owed 400, but I owe you 500. If I only owe you 100 and the rest is just now 0, I have no ownership in the body of your shore. But if we say that you don't balance out, but we say 400 belongs to him, 500 belongs to him, and then they can do whatever they want. Then it means I have real ownership in the body of your shore, and I can be makdish it to the holy temple of the Mashiach, B'meir B'yameinu. Or maybe I can be mekadesh a woman with it. Such nice romantic thing for her. Get what I'm saying? Kamash Malan the Mishnah, you don't say that. You don't say there's real ownership in the body of the 400 and real ownership in the 500, and then they'll even it out. No, because if we did say that, there'll be a huge nafkamina. I'm actually owning the body. By the way, I'm not joking now, either dead or alive. Yeah, either alive and injured or dead, but still worth a lot. Is it called mine? I can be makdish anything. To base a mikdash stam is cash. Yeah, I can be mekadesh a woman with a frozen nevela. She can sell it to Mackenzie. Kamash Malan, we don't have any ownership on the 4 and 500, and it's balanced out. The only one that owns a part, which is 100 in one of the show, is the one who's owed the extra. But the one who's not owed extra doesn't own any part of the show, and that's a whopping chidush. Or another answer, I'm not going now to the opinions of Akiva and Bishmael. What if he got lost? That's a huge nafkamina, simpler. Let's say one of the shvoim got lost. What would you say in nice American uncouth English? You would say, get lost. If all I owe you is from the body of my show, yeah, I would say, get lost. My show is lost. I can't pay you from the body of the show, right? I don't owe you anything, and you owe me 500. If we separate the 400 and the 500, my 400 shore got lost. I didn't make him vanish. I'm not a magician. I would say, wait a second, it's really 4, freeze the camera, and 5, freeze the camera. If my 400 shore ran away to Acapulco, then I'm sorry, I have no means of payment because short time only pays from the body. Now you owe me 500 regardless because it's 2 separate cheshbonos, right? And then I owe you 0. When my shore comes back home, like Lassie, I'll pay you. Right now I owe you 0. You pay me 500. And now says the Mishnah, no. Even though you pay from the body of the show, conceptually, lemaisa, we even it out whether it's found or lost or anything, and the person still owes you only 100, not 500. That's a chidush. Question time. Ellen, choshuv. Thank you very much, everybody. Everyone's choshuv over here. The shiur is over. Thank you. Kol tuv.